Okay. Good morning. My name is Suzanne McAllister, and I'm with the Post Animal Use World Project, or PAW Project, and Vegan Spirituality Group of Philadelphia. And I am really happy to be introducing those of you who don't already know her to Zipora Schulz, who is holding Ruby or Rue. And I've known Zipporah, I'm going to say about 18 years. Yeah, it's longer
Wow.
than probably either of us would have predicted.
Whew.
And I first met you, Zipporah, at a potluck at your house. That was one of the things we did with the Vegan Spirituality Group of Philadelphia in the early days. I was newly vegan. I was going to say I was newly sober. That was not true. I'd been sober a long time, but I was newly vegan. And I met Lisa Levinson at an event, and she said something about being an animal advocate. And I made a beeline for her when the event was over. She told me about Vegan Spirituality Group of Philadelphia. And the first possible event I could go to was a potluck at your house. And I remember feeling, it's hard for me to even describe, but the gathering was a godsend. I was feeling isolated. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to live this way as a vegan once I educated myself about how animals were raised for food. So meeting you and the group was just a comfort.
That's great.
One of the things that has always impressed me about you is your creativity. And and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I would love for you, if you're willing to share your story about how you started your vegan journey.
Okay. Well, I've always loved animals. That was like very apparent to me from a very, very early age. I had a true feeling for animals. I'm just holding on to her so that she doesn't bark at people at the door. Um, but I didn't make the connection, like many of us, about what I ate on my plate and the animals that I loved. And it wasn't until many years later, after I moved here, I stopped eating meat. I mean red meat, but I was eating things like omelet sandwiches and then I met Jim, who's now my husband, and he was explaining things to me, and I met a friend from New York, Louis Guideux. I don't know if you know him, but he's an animal rights person, and he actually, I should start with him first, is he would say, all you have to do is look at the pictures, Zipporah. You just have to look at the pictures of, factory farms, what's really going on. And I knew that if I did that, there was no turning back. And I did. And then when I met Jim, I went with him to one of my first animal rights conferences in North Carolina. I guess that was, is it Animals and Society? It was something run by
No, culture and animals, I
Culture and
think,
Animals, right?
with Tom Regan.
Tom Reagan, yes. And that just blew me away. That was such a huge turning point in my life. The videos I would see, the people I met, I realized that there was no way, this was going to be my life. This was going to be what I was going to be doing. This is what I was going to be part of. And then we met a lovely person called Lisa Levinson, who was a bright light at this conference. And I also made a beeline toward her. We all made beelines toward her
We did for good reason.
for good reasons. And she just radiated this joy and this hopefulness. And we just said, "Oh, are you from Philadelphia? Are you from Philadelphia? Oh, I'm from Philadelphia. And I'm an artist and I do stuff with the arts. And Jim's a musician and, I'm an art teacher. And she had studied curatorship at U of Arts. And
Mhm.
other kinds of things and movement arts. And we just said, it was kind of like an Andy Rooney play. Is that what Mickey Rooney, sorry, where it's like, let's get together and make a play, and we just got together and we created something called Public Eye Artists for Animals. And
Yeah.
it was just like the stars aligned. And
Hmm.
we just started making exhibits, we started making plays that taught compassion to animals through the arts and
Hmm.
do family-friendly events. And I just felt like I was on a trajectory at that point. I just felt like, wow, this is how one can participate in helping animals, not so much in the way of, you're protesting on lines and being in legislation, but you're doing it by it's a little more subtle, but you are creating exhibits, you're creating theater, and you're creating family events, you're creating also community events like our vegan spirituality group. We decided on the fact that, what is our spirituality? Our spirituality is this not harming,
Yes.
not harming these creatures that we love so much, that we say we love so much. And that's our spirituality, and people would get together, and it just like-minded people getting together. It actually it was very simple to just people just gathered, and we still do it till today. We still get
Yes. Well,
together.
let me, because you said so many things that
Yes, yeah.
I want to. First of all, was when you said, I knew if I looked at the pictures, I was going to have to change. And I'm sure you have met people, I have met people who say, I don't want to know. They know, like you said, if I look, I have to change. And they know if they look or if they learn, they have to change.
Right.
So kudos to you. You decided I'm going to look. And then
Yeah.
you had to do what you did. The second thing that I really appreciate about what you just said is that, and I think you probably hear this all the time, whether it's in political activism or animal rights activism, we do what we're good at and what feels natural to us. And you
Right.
are an artist, you're a creative person. And like you said, it's a way to be a bit more subtle and it's a way to bring in families. And who better to introduce this to than children? And that's always a tough thing. I know people who try to go into schools get a lot of pushback. So, again, I think um, combining what you decided was going to be your life's work with your talents and creating public eye. And I had the benefit of going to a few of those that were just fun and music and dancing and drawing and children participating. And it was just a natural environment and yet educational.
Right. And we just did one recently at the Central Library. Um, and it was a free event and it was about pigeons.
Yeah.
And we had put things on pause, our children's programs, because of the pandemic, and
Yeah.
then we kind of started, you know, to go back to it, and people just love it. People, we have usually a movement element. We have an art project. We have a naturalist. Somebody,
Yes.
in this case, it was the Philadelphia Pigeon Rescue, Laura Scorino, who is a
Mhm.
biology professor at Temple. And so we usually try to get an expert on the animal, and people learn so much. They learn about an animal that maybe they didn't even really like before.
Yeah.
I mean, people call pigeons rats with wings. They have such.
That was our former mayor, Ed Koch,
Yes,
who
right. And we
coined
are both
that.
from New York.
We are both from New York.
And pigeons and squirrels were my first introduction to animals, because
That's
That
what
was
you
the
saw
New
in New
York, those
York.
were New York animals, and I just loved them so much.
Yes.
And to have a child, they actually petted the pigeons that she brought because she
Um,
rescues them. That a lot of them can't actually go back out. And was just so revealing how much these kids will naturally usually love animals unless they're
yes.
taught otherwise,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so it was a fun event. I hope to do more.
And so I'm going to put this in the notes for people who are listening to this. But do you have a website? I know you've got a Facebook page, but do you have a website for Public Eye, or is it best to just go to Facebook?
I think it's best to go to Facebook. Yeah, Public Eye sort of is as an entity is not what it was because Lisa wound up going to the West Coast a bunch of years ago, and we have just continued, not in the same vein, but as
Mhm.
best we can. So we continue certain programming. So the library programming is easy for us to do. So in
Yeah.
answer to your question, that would be once we get more active again, maybe I can, start a whole new website. But yeah, we do have a public eye Facebook page.
Right. So
Um,
one of my questions I was going to ask a bit later, but I'm going to ask it now because it seems like a natural segue. If people wanted to help you out, if they were creative, if they were musicians, artists, dancers, wildlife experts, is that something that would be helpful to you if people like that reached out?
yes, sure,
It
sure.
would. So they can
Yeah.
go to the Facebook page and introduce themselves and say, I'm an artist. I love what you talk about doing, and let's see if we can collaborate.
And I can actually put out our public eye email right here,
Okay,
publiceyephilly@gmail.com.
perfect. And I'll put that also in the
Yes.
comments
You
section.
can write to me directly.
Right. So I also wanted to give a shout out to you. You mentioned that you and Lisa started Vegan Spirituality Group in Philadelphia, and as you said, Lisa went back to the West Coast probably a dozen years
A
ago.
dozen years ago, exactly.
And I think there are a couple of us who have continued to make sure that there are things happening, and you do a July 4th event every year. You organize it, and I'm never around, so I don't get to participate, but I know it's fun. It's a picnic, it's a hike, it's throwing a frisbee, playing music, etc. So that's
And
something that
delicious
we've done.
potluck, vegan potluck.
Yes. And then we have the Thanksgiving event every year, which for the last 5 or 6 years, I think, has been at the Friends Meeting House in Chestnut Hill. And
Yes.
you are always instrumental in making that happen, you and Jim. So I appreciate that.
So that's coming up again this year, and people are welcome to come. 20 East Mermaid Lane, I believe it
And I
is.
posted it
And
on
you're
Gab, but I'll also
Suzanne.
post below here for people
And
in the Philadelphia area. So I'm going to ask you, how, now that you're, I don't know how many years into your journey, how do you view it? Looking back and looking ahead. Are you optimistic? Are you holding your breath? Are you discouraged?
mm,
What, what do you, what comes up for you when you think about, okay, I've been on this path now for, I know for me, I'm going on 21 years.
yeah,
I imagine you're about
about the
that, or
same.
yeah.
About the same. Yes.
So how do you feel?
Well, I feel that there's no other course I could have taken. And it's the one true thing in my life,
Wow.
if I can say it like that. It's
That's
something I can feel honest about. That's like there's no duality about it, where I
yes.
know that I love animals. I actually what my journey has been that I think how I've changed is I'm not as polite with people. because I don't want to be polite with people when it comes to life and death issues
Mm,
about these animals that are to me such innocent beings. And if people want to joke about it or trivialize them or you know, like I see comments sometimes when people have vegan recipes and then somebody will say something nasty like, well,
mm.
that's, well, that they would be great on a sandwich, and it to me that's just people who are really like are not in touch,
I
and
think they're actually challenged
yeah, they
and
are.
don't even
Right.
quite know it. And so there's a defensiveness that comes up. But I really love what you just said, which is that,
One thing that's true.
and that it's, and you said there's no duality.
Right.
And
Because
any
how,
spiritual leaders that I pay attention to, who I read or listen to, that's what they talk about when they talk about being spiritual,
Mhm.
is seeing there is no duality.
Right. And also the wonderful miracle of meeting someone like Elisa Levinson or Jim Harris or you guys and you, Suzanne, and our group of vegan spirituality, which has grown exponentially. That's what's happened over the last 20 years because of someone like Lisa too. So wherever she goes, the seeds are
Yes,
planted. And
yes,
there's what we call VSG, also known as vegan spirituality groups. They're little pods of them
yes, yes,
nationally, and
yes,
it's really grown exponentially. It gives people a place, someone who's in the middle of Ohio, in the middle of, Michigan, whatever, Texas, a place to go to meet like-minded people, have potlucks, and
yes,
feel empowered. Um,
yes,
and so I would say that the miracle of meeting these people and you guys is that it gave a way for me to express my feeling for animals and not wanting to harm them and using the arts, which is, one of the things that is part of my life too, and another very big part of my life, and allowed me to do
yeah,
something that I hope is helpful in some ways. And during the 8 solid years I was doing it with Lisa and Jim and I were doing it, we were busy like 24/7. We were just round the clock. I don't even know how, it was like a blur, but we were learning about things that were affecting animals. We were learning about fracking.
hmm,
We were learning about overfishing in the
yeah,
oceans. We're doing plays about that, getting experts, and people would come. And I think this is a very important thing. When you are committed to something and when you have ideas and passions about something, people will come out of the woodwork to come help you and make it happen and manifest.
yeah,
And it's almost like beyond belief, how that energy happens. And it's a that happened over that time, and not as easily these days, but I'm hoping for more. But as far as being hopeful, I mean, I always want to be hopeful. I listened to Jane Goodall's last words on YouTube, and our Thanksgiving is going to be dedicated to her
yes,
life and memory. And she was always a role model for so many of us, and she wasn't even trained as a scientist, but she had a belief in
yes,
she had a purpose, and she held true to that purpose. And
mm,
that's why she was able to do her very, very amazing work for decades in not very easy circumstances, and helped so many animals and helped people's ways of thinking about animals, and people who may never have imagined that they would be so so bent toward that.
yeah,
Um, and the outpouring of feelings about her internationally since her passing. Okay, so why am I bringing this up? Is that something she said? Oh, is that never lose hope.
yes. And she
Because
wrote a
she
book
said
called
even in
Hope.
she admitted these are very dark times.
Yeah,
We all know
yeah,
that. We are going through a very, very dark period politically. It's affecting the earth.
Yes.
It's going to affect us, the animals. Um, but she was incredible in that she said, um, but you can't be hopeless because if you're hopeless, you'll never keep going. You won't keep doing, and we really don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So that,
That's a perfect way to end. And I'm hoping that people listening to this may be part of that group that you said would kind of miraculously appear when you wanted to put something on. And so I'm going to suggest to people who are listening to this, watching it, keep your eye out. We will let you know when there's going to be another occasion for Public Eye Artists for Animals to do something. And
thank you.
we are open.
Right, and I want younger people, like the new
Yes.
generation of people, the new it
Yes.
I got into this later in my life, but it certainly energized me. But it's up to the newer generation to get
Correct.
out there, the new artists, the new dancers, the new theater artists, create plays, create songs, create writing, create
Stories.
yes, what was that?
Stories.
Stories, and it's
Stories
all about
are,
stories.
yeah,
It's all, as we know, it's all about stories, powerful stories that people will come to their own conclusions. You can't foist anything on anybody, but
no,
if you tell a good story,
yeah.
and you people, I think, want to be compassionate and they want to find a way to be
Hmm.
compassionate. So if you offer that, people, and there's so many wonderful things like Culture and Animals gives grants to people
Yes.
who have good ideas. So all you need
Yes.
is a good idea, and you can
Yes.
send those in, and you could get supported.
So,
There's
yeah,
a lot of support.
I'm going to suggest anybody listening to this who feels inspired based on what you're hearing Zipporah say, but you're not quite sure where to go, how to start, reach out to me, reach out to Zipporah. We've been at this a while, and like Zipporah said, we need the next generation, the next couple of generations to um, get active. I think there are
Right.
many who are active, but that would be our hope. And we are
Right.
there to mentor, to help in
Yes,
whatever way.
yes.
So
I
I'm going
mean,
to
yeah.
thank you,
Thank you.
Zipporah, for making time, and
And thank you,
we did
Suzanne.
very well. And I just appreciate you and I appreciate what you do, what your husband Jim does. You're always full of love and life.
Thank you. And thank you for what you do, post animal use uh,
World. Yes.
world.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you. Have a good